not even know where to begin to thank 7 people who run one of the largest school districts in the state of Kansas. Most people don't even realize the amount of time that you spend to help serve others in our district. Thank you.
I think the Board of Education is really just important because I think they do a lot behind the scenes. We don't really get to see what they do. I felt like they were invested kind of in what I had to do and what I had to say. They felt like what they were doing made a difference, and I felt kind of like I kind of impacted everything they've done. And if it goes for one, I think it can go for all of us.
We here at Jardine Middle School wish to thank you and recognize you for all the hard work and time and commitment that you give in the city of Topeka. Thank you.
Thank you, Topeka Public Schools Board of Education.
Thank you, Topeka Board of Education.
School board is important really for 3 reasons. 1, service to our community and schools. 2, being visible in our schools and community. And then really, our school board works well with a partnership. Many have reached out to me and asked how we can help Ross be supportive and really help this community thrive.
I do not even to thank 7 people who run one of the largest school districts in the state of Kansas. Most people don't even realize the amount of time that you spend to help serve others in our district. Thank you.
I think the Board of Education is really just important because I think they do a lot behind the scenes. We don't really get to see what they do. I felt like they were invested kind of in what I had to do and what I had to say. They felt like what they were doing made a difference, and I felt kind of like I kind of impacted everything they've done. And if it goes for one, I think it can go for all of us.
We here at Jardine Middle School wish to thank you and recognize you for all the hard work and time and commitment that you give in the city of Topeka. Thank you.
Thank you, Topeka Public Schools Board of Education.
Thank you, Topeka Board of Education.
School board is important really for 3 reasons. 1, service to our community and schools. 2, being visible in our schools and community. And then really, our school board works well with a partnership. Many have reached out to me and asked how we can help Ross be supportive and really help this community thrive.
I do not even know where to begin to thank 7 people who run one of the largest school districts in the state of Kansas. Most people don't even realize the amount of time that you spend to help serve others in our district. Thank you.
I think the Board of Education is really just important because I think they do a lot behind the scenes. We don't really get to see what they do. I felt like they were invested kind of in what I had to do and what I had to say. They felt like what they were doing made a difference, and I felt kind of like I kind of impacted everything they've done. And if it goes for one, I think it can go for all of us.
We here at Jardine Middle School wish to thank you and recognize you for all the hard work and time and commitment that you give in the city of Topeka. Thank you.
Thank you, Topeka Public Schools Board of Education.
Thank you, Topeka Board of Education.
School board is important really for 3 reasons. 1, service to our community and schools. 2, being visible in our schools and community. And then really, our school board works well with a partnership. Many have reached out to me and asked how we can help Ross be supportive and really help this community thrive.
I do not even know where to begin to thank 7 people who run one of the largest school districts in the state of Kansas. Most people don't even realize the amount of time that you spend to help serve others in our district. Thank you.
I think the Board of Education is really just important because I think they do a lot behind the scenes. We don't really get to see what they do. I felt like they were invested kind of in what I had to do and what I had to say. They felt like what they were doing made a difference, and I felt kind of like I kind of impacted everything they've done. And if it goes for one, I think it can go for all of us.
We here at Jardine Middle School wish to thank you and recognize you for all the hard work and time and commitment that you give in the city of Topeka. Thank you.
Thank you, Topeka Public Schools Board of Education.
Thank you, Topeka Board of Education.
You're wondering what we're doing. We're waiting for 6:32 on the dot. That's just how I am. Wait. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. We're so glad to see such a large room of individuals here to start off our new school year. Next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Anderson, do we have anyone who's going to be leading us in this Pledge of Allegiance?
Hope Street student here that will be leading us in Pledge of Allegiance. Can you join and come on up? All right. And you want to share your name? Then we're going to all stand with you for Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, first say your name.
Okay. My name is Maritza Pulgarin Arredondo.
And we'll start.
And we'll follow your lead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
They'll get a chance to talk to you a little bit later, but that was the best pledge all year.
Thank you so much for leading us in that pledge. Next item is the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Is there a second? All right, second by Ms. Stewart Campbell. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. Ms. Lister. Thank you very much. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the school highlights. Dr. Anderson, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the board meeting. I like all the other stuff, but I really like this part. All right, so Maritza, we are so excited to celebrate you. Before I say anything else, we're going to show our video. Then we're going to call Mr. Knoll on up. He's going to give a few comments about you, and then we'll want you to come on up and join us and introduce us to who's with you. And board members will have a few questions. But join me in the video about Maritza.
Hi, my name is Maritza. I am a senior at Hope Street. I've gone from not really loving school to now, I just really like my education now.
Maritza really wasn't living up to her potential at her home school. She was behind in credits, and so she came to Hope Street. As she has grown and matured, she has really blossomed into an incredible young lady, acing her classes. She's a fabulous student and a fabulous person.
Monty has really shown not only a ton of leadership qualities, I see her involved in so many things here at Hope Street. She just asks tons of good questions. She's a good model example for getting work done and putting in a strong work ethic.
It's been a lot. I couldn't really explain it, but I know it's happened. All the teachers know you, even the principal knows your name. They try to be there to help you and understand you.
When we really saw Maritza round that corner and becoming the person that she is, it was almost like a light just came on for her. All the things that we'd been telling her the course of the last several years just kind of started to ring up, and she really started to respond and just started soaring.
Last spring, she set herself out to have a couple goals. One of them was just to be on honor roll, to get straight A's. So she's definitely exceeding, I think, her own expectations this year.
I definitely do want to go to college. I was planning on going for 2 years to Johnson County and to go in for being a dental hygienist. I think it's something interesting. Like, everyone either wants to be a nurse or a teacher, which nothing's wrong with that, but I've always loved my teeth, and I've always loved brushing my teeth a lot.
My advice to Mari after Hope Street is to continue with your goals. Don't hesitate. Get on in there and do the best you can there, and then you're going to go far.
You know what? She's going to be able to do whatever she wants to do. That young lady is so impressive. Whatever she sets her mind to do, she's going to get it done. I guarantee it.
You look into what you want to do out of school, trying to find what college I want to go to, and having good attendance, good grades. Decided to come here and just give it a try.
Maritza, you are are truly an exceptional young lady. And here's what's important about this time. I think it's your last senior of the month that you can select for the year. Am I correct, Mr. Knoll? And so each school only gets 2 for the entire year. And you're one of the 2 that Hope Street selected. So join me in applauding Maritza and Mr. Knoll, and he's gonna come on up.
Well, how can you blame Maritza from wanting to be a dentist? I mean, when you have a smile like that, for real, that's dentist material right there, folks. Maritza, she's otherwise known as Maddie at Hope Street. She's been with us for 3 years. It's, like the video stated, she's just been incredible to watch grow up, watch mature. It's been an honor for me to be a part of that. She's been on the honor roll since she's been with us. She placed second in the Living the Dream art contest last year. She's one of our student ambassadors. I'm really trying not to get emotional. I think that honestly, the highest compliment any educator can give a student is to tell them how proud they are of them. And I'm just so very proud of Maritza. I just can't put it to words. So congratulations, Maritza. Yeah, sorry. I do. So thank you. When the when the video came out, I know that Maritza and I had spoken. She was kind of bouncing back and forth between Washburn and Johnson County. Well, she has since settled on Washburn. Honestly, I think it was this sweatshirt that did it. So we're presenting her a Washburn University sweatshirt, and she's going to be a fantastic addition over there.
I came here with my family that raised me, and sorry, I'm getting my family from Hope Street. And yeah. So what are your questions?
Well, first off, so great to see you again. I visited Hope Street not too long ago, and you were one of 3 who Mr. No thought were exceptional students. So great to see you, and thank you for visiting us here. Could you introduce your family that's there? Yeah, tell us. Yeah, who?
Brother and my dad. My other siblings couldn't come. They were, in some things. So yeah.
Well, felicidades. Thank you all for being here today, and congratulations. So do you have any questions? Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions for you, and these questions are going to be very easy. So don't worry. This is just a conversation here, getting to know you. Let's see, Ms. Bowley, do you have a question?
Mine is basically an observation that we've had seniors of the month before, but we have not had so much staff come and support their students during their presentation. And that says a lot for you, and that says a lot for Hope Street and Mr. Knoll to have so many people here to cheer you on. And so are we. Your whole board here is cheering you on as you go to your next step at Washburn. And I'll be looking for a new dentist, I'm sure. So you make sure you let us know when you graduate so that we can give you some business.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the wonderful things that you're doing. And thank you to Hope Street and all of your staff, Mr. Knoll, for what you have done for this student.
Maybe we could have a stand up and we can applaud your guys' hard work. Those of you who are at Hope Street, do you want to take a stand up? There you go. Thank you for all you do to help Maritza and every student who's there. Is there one more? Mr. Noel? Who- Thank you all for what you do. Yes, let's go, Ms. Schmidt.
Okay, so my question for you is kind of twofold. And I want you to be really honest about this because I had a son that graduated from Hope Street. So I kind of want to see if your experience was similar to his. So my question to you is first, what were your thoughts and feelings as you kind of transitioned over to Hope Street? And how has that changed to where you are now?
I mean, starting, it wasn't the best, I wasn't really happy or excited. I was not in the right position of like wanting to graduate. I was kind of just doing it because my family wanted me to, but it's changed a lot. Like, I'm so thankful for the people here. And yeah, like they've helped me change, like want to be a dentist, and like wanting to go to college, be something more than just a high school graduate, So yeah.
Well, I think you should be very proud. And I have to kind of echo what Ms. Boley said, that Mr. Knoll, you and your staff do amazing, amazing things, because my son was very much like that. He wanted to drop out. He's like, I'm done. And Mr. Knoll and the staff at Hope Street changed that for him completely and gave him goals. He wanted to graduate. He, went through Washburn Tech, had his full-time job as a welder before he even graduated. So congratulations to you for sticking through it, because quitting's easy, right? Working through where we don't want to be. That's the hard part. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Others? Okay, let's start over here. Dr. Brombrake, Dr. Schumacher afterwards.
Oh, dentistry is certainly a proud profession. I would encourage you to pursue that with all vigor possible. Something to sink your teeth into, literally. But because Kansas does not have a dental school, there are special arrangements, I think, through Creighton University in Nebraska and University of Missouri in Kansas City. So there's arrangements can be made because Kansas doesn't have a dental school.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You can go ahead.
No, hey, go ahead.
Dr. Schumacher?
Yeah, in the video, I think they asked you kind of what, we always talk about the special sauce, like what makes things really work. And I think they asked you, and it was kind of hard to explain, but you said how everybody kind of knows your name, everybody knows where you are at all times. And I think like this is the special sauce at Hope Street. And like Ms. Boley had said, the presence of all these people out here that care deeply about you and all the students at Hope Street is amazing. And I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart Campbell?
So, felicidades. I'm curious, just over the years, if there are, I know all the teachers who are here today and the Hope Street staff, but if you can go back in time to elementary school and middle school, are there any like teachers or assistant teachers or, lunch worker, anybody that comes to mind who like inspired you or made you want to keep going?
Honestly, really all of my teachers, especially from Highland Park Central, because I remember the first day, it was fourth grade, because I had transferred. I was just like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared. I cried. I was that scared. But like just the teachers that were there, they all helped me like get used to being in a new school and like just making new friends. So I know I really did like that school. And
HPC. And where'd you go to middle school?
I went to Eisenhower, and yeah, I can't remember much from those days.
I know it seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, you are very well loved and respected.
Thank you.
I mean, that's very apparent by the people in the room. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations again on this incredible honor and recognition. We look forward to seeing you crossing a stage someplace, right, soon. And then we'll shake your hand, all of us, congratulate you and wish you the best, whatever moves forward. So congratulations. Thank you for being here.
All of you.
Yeah.
Aaron, it is our honor to give you the certificates up there for those that are watching online as Senior of the Month and certificate recognizing your academic. Be a good transition as people are trying to leave. Mr. Knoll, I believe Mrs. Boley has a question as we're transitioning to the next highlight. So to conclude this highlight, I'll turn it over to Ms. Boley for that last final question.
Mr. Knoll, I many times hear people say, oh, that Hope Street, that's where all the bad kids go. Would you please tell us your actual purpose at Hope Street and why it's called Hope Street? Because it is so hopeful.
Well, honestly, coincidentally, we are on Hope Street. But it's quite fitting because that's what we do. Is I think that, and I got to give props to these staff over here. I mean, the greatest staff in the district to work with. They make it happen. And the kids that come to Hope Street, they're not bad kids. They're just kids that need some extra love. They need a little extra guidance. They're kids that have fallen through the cracks through the years. And it's not that any other school has done a bad job. It's just that some kids just need that extra love that we can give them at Hope Street. And these are the people that make that happen.
Thank you. I'm a huge fan of Hope Street, and I see so many students come out with more hope and actually do great things in our world. And I accredit all of you that put that time in and help them find love for themselves and love for their future all at the same time. So thank you so much.
Next item on our agenda is under school highlights is Dr. Royce Ann Collins, who reached out to Wes and said that she wanted to share an announcement regarding a Excellence in Educational Leadership Award. So Dr. Ann Collins, if you care to share your announcement, that would be great.
Thank you. Well, yes, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. I'm Dr. Royce-Ann Collins with Kansas State University. I'm the interim department chair for the Educational Leadership Department. And on behalf of my department and the faculty and the College of Education and Kansas State University, it is my pleasure to present the 2022 University Council for Educational Administration Excellence in Educational Leadership Award to Dr. Tiffany Anderson, your superintendent, in recognition of extraordinary commitment and support for improved preparation of school administrators. And Dr. Anderson, you have been a partner with my department for years. You have been such a key person in how we have helped train school leaders. We are so impressed. And I was so impressed by what packet we put together. You have done extraordinary work, not just here, but in Virginia and Missouri. You have a long track record of being that superintendent who really strives for excellence in the schools. And you're also very committed to mental health and the issues of homelessness. And we see the impact that you've made in Topeka. So we dearly appreciate your partnership, but we also are just so excited about your excellence in leadership and everything you've done and all the things that you've done for these students. And what an example of that for that particular school. So I get to present you with a certificate, but oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure.
We'll take the people at the podium and proceed on. Thank you so much. And for the board to know, this is our largest class. I think we have almost 30 aspiring leaders in the leadership program. And Ms. Wallace is at 30. And this is the largest yet. And since we started this program, so we're talking every year, 15 to 30 or 15 to 25 leaders gaining their skills through K-State and going on to be principals. So almost every elementary principal that we've hired just about came through the K-State program. And many of the leaders across the state are through the K-State program taken here to speak from the school. Wallace is one of the professors. Dr. McDonald is the other professor, and previously Dr. Knoll, and now a new professor has joined us. So thank you for making this possible for people who are teachers in the classroom who want to continue to learn and grow and develop. It's through great partnerships that good things like that can happen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. And we'll, I guess, turn it back this way. And there we go.
Oh, do we have another one?
Okay.
Very, very, very deserving. Thank you. And thank you for all your courage.
Congratulations, Dr. Anderson. Oh, what a way to end it. All right. Thank you so much. Next item on our agenda is public communication. Ms. Lister, do we have someone here to speak today? Let's see. Okay, let's see. We have Mr. Curtis Pitts, Mr. Curtis Pitts here. Curtis Pitts. All right. Not seeing him here today. We will, of course, gladly defer him to come to address the board next meeting, which will be 2 weeks from today. So we're going to hold off on that. Moving on, we are looking at 7, disposition of business by consent. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
All right, thank you very much. We have a motion. Is there a second? All right, second by Mr. Tatum. Any questions? All right. Wait, yes, we have one question, Ms. Boley.
I did have a question. I noticed under donations to our district that Advisor Excel is donating some money, but it's directed to a program I didn't understand. It's called the First Route Program. And I was wondering if I could have some more information on that program.
Absolutely. First Route is one of the programs that they brought into the district, I believe last year. Am I correct, Mr. Robbins and Ms. Wallace? And they are committed to financial literacy, Advisors Excel is. And so they've identified several schools that can apply for grants. It's really an entrepreneurship piece. They write a proposal, a business proposal, and First Route may fund that proposal as students do all the components of business planning. College Prep actually received several $1,000s, which they purchased cardigan sweaters for College Prep Academy, and they purchased a few other things, but it really was all around supporting their own student body. So it's all student driven, and we just thank Advisors Excel for investing in financial literacy and entrepreneurial programs that just extend our students to the next level. They've invested in elementary and in secondary.
Do they have a panel that goes over these plans and they choose a winner or something like that?
They do. First Route is an organization. So that organization overall really reviews those proposals and supports the students, and they come in. Tracy Killo is the liaison between Advisors Excel and Topeka Public Schools for all of the community services that they give to us and support us with. But that program has a number of individuals that support that. Mr. Robbins or Ms. Wallace, do you want to add to that?
Okay, Dr. Anderson. Yes, with this program, they select schools. Really, it's a student driven program. They select the projects. They decide what they would like to do, how the dollars would best be spent to satisfy a desire that they have within their building. And then they fund it. First Route will fund that project. So they are at elementary schools, as Dr. Anderson mentioned, and also a couple of our middle schools.
We're very lucky to have them as business partners. We sure appreciate what they do for our community and our schools.
Any other questions before we move? Okay, seeing no more questions, we'll go ahead and move to a vote. And I see Ms. Lister, it's okay. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Moving on next to, we have, let's see, I believe it's superintendent's report. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah, Dr.
sir.
Anderson.
Civic engagement is the topic, and who better than the school board during School Board Appreciation Month to be the examples of what civic engagement is with all of our parents and volunteers that are on the board, former educators that are volunteering your time to be involved in really policy and all of the other things that support schools. To that note, at the next board meeting, I do have to mention before we jump into the civic engagement piece, the school board is down for school board appreciation. We never put it at the first meeting because sometimes there are new members just learning where they're supposed to sit. And so school board appreciation is all month of January. We have it on the board meeting for the next meeting, but the items, this meeting and next meeting, there were so much that we divided it up. So the decorations will stay up, but you have cards and all of those things in front of you at your table. You also have, we gave this to administrators, but Miss Betty Young in Teaching and Learning feels like our school board members really are the ones that support our administrative staff, myself included. So it says it's your starburst bursting to tell you you're an amazing administrator. And so you are an administrator as we see it, overseeing and supporting all of us. And then of course, at the next meeting, there's a special presentation for our school board. But we just want to say thank you. And for those that are listening, it is School Board Appreciation Month. So reach out to your school board member and let them know how much you appreciate them, along with all of our students. Right, with that, as we change and move into from civic engagement from our school board to civic engagement in general, we'll be talking about two things. Ms. Wallace will kind of start us off, and then we're turning it over to Mr. Robbins to introduce our new lobbyist, Jim Edwards. So we'll start off with talking about what does civic engagement look like at a school level, and what guides us in that regard. And then we'll talk about what does civic engagement look like at a board level in terms of how are you and how are we as a district involved in civic engagement. And that's really through our lobbyist, who will also be introduced, sharing about his background, but he'll also answer questions about the legislative session, which just opened. So with that, we'll start off with Ms. Wallace. You have in your board docs a document that she attached that's guidelines regarding civic engagement. Ms. Wallace, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening. So yes, this document was attached to board docs for you to review. It is the guiding document provided by KSDE as part of what I looked at for accreditation. And so it has those 6 practices. The first is instruction in the classroom. Second practice is discussion and discourse, community service, extracurricular activities, school governance, and then like simulations and those kinds of things that they do in school. And so also, I think at your space, you have a copy of the section of accreditation that was around what we highlighted for civic engagement in our schools. And so I will just quickly take you through a few of those things. The first one is that classroom instruction. And so as a foundation in coursework, we have more electives in social studies than about any other content area. So we have a variety of world history, government classes, US comparative government, as well as over the last several years, including classes around various cultures and ethnic and racial groups. We've had African American history and Hispanic American history for a while. We've added Native American studies and Asian American studies in the last couple of years. And then at the elementary school, those things are kind of weaved into the other curricular areas. We do a huge piece around environmental science, and that's connected and related to what's going on in the world. And that is kind of followed up by our trip to the Kansas Energy Station.
So when the League of Women Voters visits, they visit one of those social studies classes, often the government class. When board members have been invited to come in as guest speakers, often it's to a government class, but that's the structure that's around that as we go on to our second pillar.
So yes, and then things like simulations, one of those things is voting during elections, but also things like Model UN and History Day, and participating in things like Living the Dream, those community events. And then we have the discourse. So at high school, a lot of the discourse happens across the curriculum, but we do have very specific classes, debate, forensics. Many of our language arts classes require speaking and discourse. And then at the elementary level, still at the high school level, we have seen a lot of discourse around even some of the plays and theater productions that have been put on, as well as organized marches by our high schools. Community service, a lot of our schools raise money for different projects. One example in here is an elementary student, or elementary school, who raised monies with Penny Wars for a fellow classmates' medical expenses. And so there are just quite a few various things that we do there. Extracurricular, we have clubs that range from world languages, which is part of our civic engagement and being a global community and society, to post-graduation roles. And we had students who participated in our vaccination clinics. We have almost all of our schools have a student council or a student government, even at the elementary level, as it relates to that governance piece. And then the very last one would be some of those simulations and things that we've talked about previously.
So we're sharing this today because it was asked that we talk about civic engagement and what do we do in that area. So that structure helps you actually have a document to look at to see what's the why behind the what. In addition to those pieces, under discourse, I have a superintendent student advisory that I started when I started in the district. That superintendent student advisory exists at each one of the 3 comprehensive high schools. And so when we were addressing voting and Ms. Masoner came and, one of the students that was a member of the superintendent student advisory, Kelm Lear, I think met with some board members, helped us create a video speaking to other students. The idea came out from Kelm and I believe Ms. Masoner about having postcards with the QR code. But then the superintendent student advisory then added to that to say, wow, the QR code is nice, but we don't all watch TV, and Facebook is kind of an old person's thing now. Apparently, they use Instagram and other things and other social media. And so they were suggesting, hey, in government class, can we use the QR code instead of just putting it at graduation? It was nice to have it in the seats at graduation, but at the time you're graduating and you're excited and you might not see what's on that seat unless it's your diploma. And so, making sure we integrate things really allows us to, having student voice for me directly allows me from a district perspective to look at discourse in a broad way and to do some things that maybe we might not normally think of by giving those students an outlet. The students that are on that advisory are selected by the principals primarily, but we make sure we have representation from every grade level, and we try to cover various groups within the school, and it's about 10 to 15 students. If you ever want to sit in on a superintendent student advisory, it's also real talk with just me and them. The very first one, their principal sits in on, and then we really just have time, just myself and students. And so if you'd like to come to Superintendent Students Advisory, it happens every couple of months, every 2 months. And so the next one will be in February. And just let me know. And Mrs. Nordic can give you the date in which I host that. And we go to really all the schools in the same day doing their Charger Scott time. Well, 2 schools, I think, each day. So we look forward to continuing that work. Any questions for Ms. Wallace or I before we prepare to talk about board civic engagement as it relates to our lobbyists, which is kind of the meat and potatoes behind today?
Any questions? Yeah, Ms. Stewart-Keble.
I have a question/comment. I ran into Kelm Lear, maybe like a month ago, and just had a delightful conversation with him. And he shared with me that some of his ideas that he has for increasing student engagement with civics and increasing voter registration. And he told me he would love to present to us sometime his ideas. And he said he might run for school board one day when he after he graduates from K-State. So he wants to be on our school board.
Yeah, because I think he's a poli-sci major as well.
Yes.
I think it's political science.
Yes. Yep. Anyway, so that's all. I just wanted to share with everyone that he would like to present us his ideas.
Thank you.
Ms. Boley.
I know I've been approached a couple of times by the League of Women Voters that wanting me to be a presenter. I mean, they're trying to get me involved in their organization. I was wondering, how open are our buildings to that organization, and how does that occur? Do they have to be invited? Do they show up to the buildings? How does that happen?
Ms. Wallace, you want to speak to that? And we're very open, and they've actually been to all the buildings, but Mrs. Wallace?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say is they visited all of our schools during that election cycle and prior to get students registered to vote and to talk to students about their civic rights and the opportunity to participate in our government process.
Is it well accepted by the students? I know most of it's done by old ladies like me. Is it something that is worthwhile in our buildings?
Absolutely, it's worthwhile. It is really, I think, primarily focused on those students who are 17 and or getting ready to turn 18 in time to register to vote. So there's that focus on getting them registered to vote. But yes, it's very well received.
Thank you.
And then I would just add, as it relates to this guidebook, as we start our next accreditation cycle this year, each school building leadership team will go through this and kind of outline the things that they do in each of these practices. Because while the report that I shared with you, these are highlights, and by no means did we capture all of the great work that our schools are doing.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. And so that covers a little bit about what it looks like at a school end. So now let's talk about a district end. And I will invite Mr. Jim Edwards, who so patiently waited. You know, he came at 5:30 and we said, oh, it's actually 6:30, you know, because we have closed session. So thank you so much. Mr. Edwards, if you can come to the mic, and Mr. Robbins, do you have some introductory remarks you'd like to share? We are fortunate to have a leader in this field of lobbying and just delighted to have you a part of the team. Mr. Robbins?
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. We are extremely happy and fortunate, as Dr. Anderson mentioned, to have Mr. Edwards here and at the podium with us this evening. I don't know if the board remembers or not, but back during your meeting on December the 15th, you did approve a contract for Mr. Edwards to provide governmental relations services for the district for this session of the legislature, which begins next week. The reason I say that we are fortunate is because we weren't sure that this was going to happen, that Mr. Edwards would be with us, because it took quite a bit of arm twisting on the part of Dr. Anderson and I to convince Mr. Edwards to render his services to us for this session. Mr. Edwards has been retired for a number of years, but when you look at his background and his resume, and I won't reveal everything, I'll leave a little bit for him, but I tell you, you get excited just knowing what he brings to the table and how he will be able to so adequately represent the school board during this legislative session. You know, we definitely would want someone who is passionate when it comes to public education. And Mr. Edwards has a track record that demonstrates the fact that he has been a strong advocate for public education for a number of years. He has served on the board of directors for Communities in Schools. He has served on the board and also as president of our own Topeka Public School Foundation. And for those of you who were in attendance at our most recent foundation breakfast, you know that Mr. Edwards and his wife were recipients of the volunteer award that was presented by the foundation for their service on behalf of Topeka Public Schools. So he has been involved for a number of years in advocating for public education. And he also has a tremendous track record when it comes to lobbying on behalf of organizations that he has been associated with. Mr. Edwards spent 10 years with the KASB as a lobbyist for them. Prior to that, he spent another 19 years in working in government relations and lobbying with the Kansas Chamber of Commerce. So he has spent plenty of time in front of government officials. He has a reputation that is beyond reproach. He has made acquaintances with people such as your attorney, Ms. Whiteman. She knows him well, okay, and speaks very highly of him. I've had a chance to meet and work with Mr. Edwards over the years, and I too know him well and speak very highly of him. As far as rest of his background and what he foresees as far as this session and what he can do in representing the school board and district administration, I will let him speak for himself. I'll quit because I'm just happy that he's here and ready to serve us in that capacity. So without further ado, I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Edwards.
Thank you very much. I probably should just go sit down and not ruin anybody's opinion. Thank you very much for those kind words. I am happy to be here. I look back at what was presented tonight to the young lady from Hope, and you ask why I'm interested in education. It's there. As was mentioned earlier, I've been involved with communities and schools, and that's where I got to know Mr. Knoll. In my years of dealing with communities and schools, they used to call it they used to call it Reality U. They now call it Future Now Finance. But working with him in that school, as well as other schools in the district, that's why I'm here. I was happily retired for 10 years with some arm twisting, and it wasn't that much. I've had other offers to go back into the lobbying field, and it's not there. I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I'm a lousy lobbyist if it's not in the education or economic development areas. I'm not one that could sell snow to an Eskimo. So anyway, I go a little bit into background. As was mentioned, I worked 20 years for the Kansas Chamber, dealt with education, economic development. And when I left there in 2002, I went to the Kansas Association of School Boards, and I dealt with the same two issues. They were just reversed. I dealt with education first and economic development. And I bring up economic development because, and I'll use Garden City. I introduced myself to the board members earlier this evening. And I know Dr. Brombake's app, his wife, who I worked with in Garden City when she was an attorney, and some economic development projects. But that's where it really started. That sparked my interest in education advocacy, because I found out that it not only was required to keep businesses in communities, but is required to bring businesses to communities. And I used two examples. Earlier this week, I visited with the DCAC group, and I mentioned to them that in starting in Iowa, starting in Garden City, was there when we recruited Iowa Beef, and soon found out that the majority of individuals that they hired were from Vietnam. That was the first influx of Vietnamese that we had into the country. And in order to keep the people there, Iowa Beef worked with the chamber, which I was the president and CEO at that time, in acquiring properties where they could have English as a second language programs for the workers. And those were usually old filling stations that were given up. And we worked with Garden City Community College, and they provided the instructors. But that was my first thing. Said, well, to keep businesses in the community, you have to have strong education programs at all levels. And then, because when Iowa Beef came in, just as most communities that size, when you have an industry that size, you find that you have a lot of ancillary industries that are looking at coming into the community. And I can go down the list, but the real one, I mean, the big one that really stuck with me was we located Inland Container, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Time Life. And when they were doing the recruiting, every time they would come out, they would have new individuals. They had one individual that came with them all the time. The thing they wanted to see was their schools. And it was not to see what the schools were that they might get employees from. It was, can we get people to move to the community that have children, and we want to see what the schools are. So that's really where my interest was sparked in education advocacy. From the end where you have from the part where you have companies already there that need educational assistance for their workers, to those that you say, okay, to get somebody in, they want to know that they have a quality school system available. So that's my background. I love education advocacy. It's tough because there are many challenges presented in the State House, but those aren't much different than they were when I retired 10 years ago. So I would be happy to answer any questions or comments or entertain comments that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for being here, for agreeing to sort of partner with us in the Capitol. Are there questions for Mr. Edwards? Yes, Mrs. Stewart Campbell.
I am so excited you're here. And thank you for saying yes. What do you think our biggest challenge is in terms of advocating for public education with this next legislative session?
And I think this is with all sessions. It's not just this one. It might be more so with coming session because there truly is a lack of understanding of what education is today. I mean, we can look around the room. I can say myself, I sat in a desk in a school some 60 years ago. And a lot has changed. A lot has changed in the last decade. And that, let me bring this one issue up because this is something that I advocated when I was with the state chamber with businesses that were there. But it's very important to get business people as well as legislators, but get business people into the schools to let them see what schools are facing and what schools are doing today. And it's not only showing them the brightest and shiniest and the best students you have, but it's showing them what reality is. And it's showing what every teacher is having to face every day, what every building principal is having to face today. So it's the biggest challenge. I don't want to, ignorance is too strong of a word, but it's lack of knowledge of what education is facing today. And it's not the same when they went to school. Hope that answers it.
Thank you. I just don't understand why anybody is against public education. It just baffles me. If you have an answer to that, just let me know sometime.
It truly is a lack of understanding of what's being faced.
Okay, just
So
ignorance.
the board should know that Mr. Robbins, he appoints who the lobbyist will be. And again, the excitement around Mr. Edwards and the work ahead is truly something that we all share. With that, relationships, as Mr. Edwards has shared, is really key. So really the visibility and just the knowledge of knowing even who to call and who to reach out to. So prior to his first day, which is this week, he was already communicating with Dr. Kipp and I. So in addition to the legislative body, we had the question about the military. If you may recall that our military, our students who graduate going to the military are not counted as successful graduates. So we have students that have gone to West Point that are considered an unsuccessful graduate. And we turned that over to Mr. Edwards prior to him officially starting just as a volunteer. Can you look at this? Immediately he produced other states' information, and in addition to providing that, helping us understand that that's really a KSDE conversation to which he can facilitate some conversation between KSDE, perhaps myself and Mr. Edwards sitting with other individuals at the State Department to just have dialogue about how this could look. Dr. Kipp's done a body of research with that as well. He has examples from Ohio and other places of what this could look like. So really the key and the bridge that Mr. Edwards brings to us is knowledge of who to connect with, but an understanding of the value of relationships so that we can help people respond to needs that they now know. You can't respond to needs you don't know and understand. And so that connection is key. The other areas, he's already received the legislative platform, the One Voice, and he's looked that over. So we're looking at opportunities to continue to advocate and empower the DCAC and other parents with ways they can advocate and contact their own legislators on our behalf. So it's not just Topeka Public Schools and the lobbyists, but it's really the people that make up Topeka Public Schools bringing voice to areas of opportunity. So that gives you some structure, and that contractual relationship, as with all of our vendors in the operational area, goes through Mr. Robbins, which is why he gave that introduction. And the key between the two of them each week will be conversations about what's occurring that we should be aware of. So again, we're excited about the year ahead. That concludes our presentation, unless there are other questions for Mr. Edwards.
Ms. Boley.
What is it that our board can do and our education community can do to help educate or help inform our legislatures of what school really is nowadays? What is it? What is our action that we can do to help in that?
I'll go back. I think one of the biggest things you can do, or one of the best things you can do, is get individuals into the schools. Again, it's a long time between where people are sitting now and when they last sat in a school desk, and things were much different then. And if there's some are not going to be there for you, you just have to understand that. But the ability to get them into the buildings, and show them truly what's going on in education today is vital.
Would that be like from a personal invitation, writing their office? How are we able to do that?
Well, you've had the principles of the day, which is a good way, but you're dealing primarily with the legislators there. But other individuals that you can get in, again, it's just providing them the information. It's allowing them to actually see what's going on.
So we anticipate, and Mr. Edwards has already offered to gather all of the addresses of all of the legislators who, I could and should reach out to, we could and should reach out to. And so from that list, we already know from Principal for the Day that, some of our senators have already shared they loved it. They love to go to this school or that school. Senator Dietrich wants to go visit Topeka West, and others have shared interest. So through that list that he shares, we will be, as a district, on my letterhead, just inviting them to come in, asking if there's a particular school, and if there's not a particular school, to have a conversation and offering a place. For example, TCALC, where we're all talking about careers and preparation, and then having our finance team, Mr. Robbins and team, at that space as well to answer and just have Q&A along with Mr. Edwards there. So that's one way of doing that. The Principal for the Day, that was a new piece that we just thought of. This might be neat, and let's see if they come. And it was people that were running along with current sitting legislators, and the ones that were running won. So it was great that we invited them before they won, which really sparked even greater interest to come back and continue the conversation. So that will look far more personalized this year with the help of Mr. Edwards. So we're looking forward to that.
All right, other question? Yes, Dr. Bobrink.
Taken this position, but there's other things other than having them experience. There's iniquities that the legislature has just perpetrated and sort of shown a hate for public schools, like school vouchers, taking attendance on September 20th. And there's 5% of kids are probably absent any given day. And these politicians say they're going to fully fund education. Well, I don't think their hearts are in that. They're really anything they can do to cut back any expenses. And in military, I think they take the attendance twice a year to try to cut back the number of students they have to pay for. So how can we, the parental rights bill, we want to give the teachers more work and not to be as efficient in their management on the day-to-day management of their classes. If they want to change the course in midday, they'd have to go on the computer and tell the parents and get approval that they want to do that. If I had any hair, I'd tear it out. And that K through 12 subcommittee of the House, they just don't seem to pay any attention to people that stand up and speak in front of them. Having sat through a couple, it's depressing.
Welcome to my world. And I don't mean to make a joke of that, because you're exactly right. I go way back to when Jack Breyer was Secretary of State. He reminded me that the one thing that all governmental officials like is to be reelected.
Not service.
There is a point to that, in that individuals will do what they feel the constituency that they think they have wants them to do. And so if one constituency is more vocal than another, that's a constituency they will believe they're serving, that they should serve. So again, this goes back to what I was talking about. If the more you can educate people, the better off we all are in the education arena. Is that?
All right.
Can you get it through there?
I'll do his best. Any other questions? All right, seeing no more questions. Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Edwards. We look forward to all the work that you'll do. And Mr. Robbins, just keep us in the loop on what, if there's anything we can do. Thank you very much.
Right, so as we conclude this piece, and as we've talked about civic engagement, and as Mr. Edwards works through Mr. Robbins, and he copies me, but that's really his a person that he works through primarily. If there are matters of legislative interest, whether it's sending them to me or Mr. Robbins, you know that he's talking with him every week. So that's really a great structure to utilize so that he can bring things up as they need to be brought up at the appropriate time. Outside of that, we certainly will keep you updated when we are meeting with various legislators, so that if you choose to be involved or just want to have the update, you'll have that piece. I would be remiss, we couldn't put it on the board agenda because it was a secret from the commissioner as he went around the state and highlighted and announced who the Horizon Award winners are. The Horizon Award winners are first and second year teachers. There are only a very small handful of them that are selected across the state. As this 1 minute video does play, we are proud to announce that the French Falcons had a Horizon Award teacher who was surprised today. She thought she was going to have a guest reader in her classroom. And on Zoom, in came the commissioner, who she still thought was going to be the guest reader. It is a low incident room, so we got permission from
your teacher, Miss Manus, is a 2023 Horizon Award winner.
Miss Manus, who works in one of our special education classrooms, received the Horizon Teacher Award, which is a very special award that goes out in the state of Kansas for first-year teachers. She goes above and beyond. She has transformed and spent time and energy into creating a very warm and positive climate in her classroom, and our students are just getting top-notch instruction.
I won the Kansas Horizon Award for first-year teachers. That means that all of the hard work, cultivating it, and all of the prep work and accommodations and making sure these kiddos get everything that they deserve and need. All teachers right now are amazing in my book, because just that everybody's amazing, and I believe that everybody deserves the award, but I'm very honored that it was me.
We are just so grateful for Miss Manus and her hard work, and we are appreciative of everything that she does.
Exciting start this morning to the day to learn that we again had a Horizon Award winner, and last year we had 2 and the year before we had 1, and so we've really had 3 really strong years of being one of the few districts that has the top beginning teachers in the state. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Munoz.
All right, thank you very much. That is amazing news. Did you have a question? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. You know what? They pay them a lot of attention. And that paid attention is in the area they get to be with the Teachers of the Year, past and present, and they have a variety of opportunities across the state to come together with other Horizon Award teachers.
All right, moving on. Exactly.
It is priceless.
Attention.
Next item on our agenda is what looks like board member comments. And if you have any reports from committees, you can share that in there. I know that it was brought up that if we can make the committee reports separate from board comments, I think we'll see that and then perhaps in the next meeting, but just an FYI. But let's start with Dr. Bowenbrake.
A couple of meetings before we brought up Mr. John Hattie, what was important in learning. Since class size is not important, I was going to propose that we double the class size and cut our teachers in numbers in half and give them a 5% pay raise, because that's what the legislature would probably allow. No, but seriously, Sweden average class size is 33. Finland's about the same. And they score much higher on international testing than we do. But it's going through Mr. Hattie's book, one of them I think he's written 8 or 9. He bases his knowledge on meta-analyses. He does meta-analyses of meta-analyses. In medicine, we don't do meta-analyses because basically it's a lot of poorly designed small studies, which they then combine to make a big study based on poorly designed small studies. So and other people have been mistrusting of those studies, but if a teacher is providing a lot of personalized attention and adjusting the lesson plan with 33 students, it's a whole heck of a lot easier to do it for 15. And I still think we need smaller classes or an extended school year so we can raise all those points of advancement that we have proposed. It just, again, pulling hair out. But where are we going to get it from a legislature that hates public schools? That's all. Sorry.
Dr. Schumacher.
I don't, in the break, I don't think we've had any committee meetings. I don't have anything to report, and I don't really have much other than that. I'm excited to start the year with all of you and excited for Mr. Edwards to fix all of Dr. Bonebrake's issues. Which may or may not be possible. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tatum.
I'm not sure that Mr. Edwards has the educational degrees to fix all of Dr. Bonebrake's issues. So that's a whole other. I'm also excited for Mr. Edwards to join the team. Welcome to Topeka Public Schools. So I actually do have a committee report. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm old enough to remember the last time that we would have had a committee meeting, which would have been about a month ago, about 3 weeks ago. And it was the Health Insurance Committee meeting, and there's several of us board members that were present during that meeting, as well as Mr. Robbins, Mr. Gibson there. So a number of folks who are here with us now were present for that committee. But one of the things that I thought was pretty exciting, that was a takeaway that I wanted to be sure to share with the entire board, is that under the auspices of the Health Insurance Committee, the district is putting together a wellness committee that will be made up of a variety of different participants to kind of oversee health-related challenges and behaviors of district employees. There'll be 15 members on this committee, and they're made up of professionals from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, from USD 501, from the NEA Topeka, and they'll be working together to try to come up with some solutions to solve some of these challenges. During the discussion on the formation of this committee, Dr. Bonebrake volunteered to be one of the committee members, even though it wasn't originally designed for board members to be on the committee. But he managed to smoothly insert himself into the process. So, and as a retired physician, he would definitely contribute a lot to the wellness committee. But they're in the process of bringing more members on board. There's a commitment document that they have for people that are interested, so that they know what they're getting into and what their responsibilities and roles will be. They'll meet monthly. And I know that Mr. Robbins had said that he would like to see the committee focus on changing employee behaviors. And that would be in service of reducing premium costs to help bring down the costs of everyone who's paying into the health insurance system so that everyone pays less. And a lot of those costs are borne by those that need the most health support. And it's just the nature of the beast of having an insurance plan. But if there are more incentives to engage in healthful behaviors, it drives down the cost for everyone, especially since 501 employees have been seeking increasing levels of services from a variety of mental health providers. So the mental health costs of district employees are going up at a pretty significant rate. And there are several highly expensive medications that are also cost drivers. So there's medications out there. Humira came to mind. It's a anti-inflammatory medicine. It does an effective job, but it's incredibly expensive. And so when you have a number of employees that are on that particular medication, it tends to drive the costs up. So just wanted to kind of update everybody on the activities of the health insurance committee and what will be coming out of that body of work. And I think that's all that I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Schmidt.
So thanks for calling out that we're going to be separating and adding on the committee reports. One of the key reasons I think that that's kind of important is because I hope that we have people out there that are interested in these things. And when they take a look at the agenda and they can see that we're talking about the finance committee or the health and insurance committee, it gives them an opportunity to come to the board meeting and participate, listen, actively ask questions if they want to sign up to speak. So I think that's important. The other key aspect of doing that is it allows us to capture some of that in minutes so that people that don't want to get on and watch the whole thing or just have a specific interest, they can go in the minutes and be able to look specifically at, what was talked about if that's an interest to them. You spoke about the Health and Insurance Committee. Policy Committee did not meet. Our meetings kind of fell with both the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. So we have not met. We will meet again in January. I know that we have board elections coming up, I think next meeting. So we have that to look forward to. But other than that, I'm excited for the new year. It was great to have Mr. Knoll here highlighting Hope Street. I think, like Ms. Boley said, that's a big misconception about the students that are there. And I know that my son had that very same misconception when we were looking at that as an option for him. So one thing I'd love to know is how can we change that? How can we get the word out about what Hope Street really is, change the idea that it's a place for dropouts and I don't know how we can influence that, but that would be a good thing. So.
All right. Ms. Stewart Campbell.
Well, first of all, I'm thinking of Dr. Bonebrake's comment about Sweden and Finland scoring much higher than the United States on assessments, but yet they have large class sizes. And I know one of the reasons why. Do you know what I'm going to say? Oh, no. Okay. I actually wasn't going to say that. I was not going to say that, but you're right. That too. What I was going to say is how much those countries value and emphasize world language education. And so all of those students are proficient in at least 2 other languages. And the direct, I know I talk a lot about the importance of world language, but this is another one because there's tons of research on this, how much it increases cognitive function. So anyway, wanted to say that. And I also wanted to thank the First United Methodist Church and Oakland United Methodist Church for their generous donations to State Street. And as Ms. Boley commented earlier about Advisors Excel for the, I'm glad you asked about that, the First Root program, because I was curious about that as well. And also the Family Peace Initiative. And finally, FHL Bank Topeka, and who donated generously to the Topeka High School theater department. So I want to thank them. And yep, today started second semester. My children were not, they were, I mean, honestly, they enjoyed vacation. So they weren't like, what, I get to get back to school, right? You know, they weren't like singing out the door this morning, but they weren't dragging their feet either. And when they got home today, they both had very good days. And I just think it's so cool, all the things that we offer. Like my daughter's in the play at Landon. And like we offer so much for our students. So like she gets to be in theater and everyone was cast. And and my son's doing on the dive team, and it's just great, all the opportunities we offer our students. So I wanted to say that. And last, I want to thank my colleagues on the board. So here we are at the board. The month of January is Board Appreciation Month, and how much I appreciate you, all of you. Like I know at any time I could pick up the phone and call any of you, and we'll have a great conversation or text. So yes, anyway, I just really, really appreciate you. And thank you, Ms. Schmidt. This is my new favorite cup. This is really, really, it's really nice. So thank you. And that's all.
Ms. Boley.
Well, you stole a little of my thunder on my other board members that are doing such a great job, and thank you for my cup as well. This is exciting to have Topeka Public Schools designed so beautifully here. Yes, yes. Wanted to say congratulations to Dr. Anderson again for the K-State Award. It just moves us one step closer to being that premier district that we have a goal to make. And to have that acknowledgement, you bring so much acknowledgement to our district, and we thank you and appreciate you for that. I was on a DCAC meeting this week, and they are meeting around their projects and really starting to get fired up about meeting and doing their research around that to present to us. And it's a great group of people. And so it's always an honor to go and report the board report to them. I appreciate their invitation. And I had one other thing, but I can't read my writing. So we want this meeting to end anyway, so we'll just let it go. Don't you think? Yeah. Oh, advocacy training for the legislature. I know Dr. Bonebrake has signed up. And I'm just so excited that we're going to go to that training to try to help you, Mr. Edwards. So I'm excited about that. So thank you all.
All right, last one, I'll be quick. We did not have a finance committee meeting in December. We will have that next week, I believe. So that's coming up very soon. So I'll report on that in 2 weeks when we meet. Let's take a look here. The only other thing is I think everybody's already said thank you to those who have donated to our district, who have given during this holiday season. And I know our schools appreciate that support, and that the students who are the ultimate beneficiaries, that they even though they don't know it, that they are given so much, and we do it because it matters and it's important. I'm going to be quick. I'm going to go home and see how the kids' first day back was. They were they had a lot of energy this morning, so I'm looking forward to see what they have. We were lucky to take them to the Maya exhibit at Union Station. So they're just kids. We didn't tell them it was educational, but it was. But they didn't see it that way, so they enjoyed it. But the only thing sort of on my mind right now is now that we just are coming back from holidays, it might be good for us to sort of have a check-in with the district halfway through our school year to ask ourselves, where are we right now? How are things going so far this past semesters, and what are we going to do to sort of with these the second half of the school? So it might be good for us to sort of ask those questions of the district in the next couple of meetings coming up. So other than that, looking for a motion to adjourn. All right, there's been a motion, second, okay. All in favor? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you everyone for being here. Have a great night.